Hey everyone, welcome to the news. We're going to start off with a bit of a comparison, a light comparison between Xbox One and PS4. So right now, both of them have started out the gate with bugs, obviously. Well, more like system errors. So far, what?
They had bed bugs.
Bed bugs. Anyways, so far, there's PS4 with the blue light of death, and it's affected about 1% of people. And then there's the Xbox One with the disk drive of doom.
The DDoD.
The DDoD, yeah. And Microsoft hasn't given out any numbers on how many people it has affected. But for a comparison, Kotaku, with the person that was actually talking about this, was the person that was covering the PS4 bug said they got about a few dozen emails in 2 days about the issue. Whereas the guy that was covering the Xbox One got 150 emails in 2 days.
Well,
yeah.
Because PS4 people didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
They fixed it
I would
themselves.
take that with a grain of salt.
They didn't fix it themselves.
Obviously not. They
What
didn't open up the PS4 and fix it.
What are the sales numbers between the Xbox One and the PS4 so far?
They both sold 1 million, I think, within 24 hours. But see, the thing is, PS4 only released in North America. They're releasing in Europe and other countries on the 29th of November, whereas Xbox One opened up in 13 different regions.
Period. And it'll never open up in any other regions.
No, in 2014 they're opening up in more. Yeah.
Those 13 regions will have to pair off one male and one female.
Put them in combat.
Yeah.
Did you hear the software bug with the Xbox One?
There was no software bug
There
with
was.
the Xbox.
There was.
Was there?
Yeah.
What was
It's actually it's an update.
yeah.
People updating their Xbox Ones on startup crashes their system and they can't get into it.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not hear about that.
That is.
So yeah, how widespread is it?
Not that much. They said it's not that many people, but
One
it's
in
enough
three.
that people notice.
I believe it's 1 in 3.
1 in 3. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
right.
Brandon. Thank you for that false tidbit. Now, so far, what I've heard about the Sony support so far is that you're on hold for about 2 to 3 hours, but you get a new system within a week, and that includes weekends. So it was 2 or 3 business days someone got, maximum 2 or 3 business days.
So that excludes weekends if it's in business days.
Yes, but within he called on the Saturday or the Friday, and including the Saturday and Sunday, he got it the Tuesday or Wednesday.
Wow.
I think it was the Wednesday actually. Yeah.
Huh.
Both of them don't have any fix at the moment other than sending in the system, but Microsoft is actually giving away a free digital game of any of their launch exclusives. So that includes Dead Rising 3, Rise Son of Rome, Forza 5, and Zoo Tycoon.
That's the one I want.
Yeah.
That's the one I want too.
Yeah, seriously, who the fuck unless you bought all 3 of the other titles, who would take Zoo Tycoon?
Yeah, but the Xbox, their other solution was they literally will send you a new system without you having to send yours back and repairing it.
That's not...
That does not
Because
seem
then it's just
any...
I have a broken system. Okay.
No, but like,
Send you another one for free.
they check up on it, obviously.
Okay.
With their
Anyways,
with their G-Men.
I saw a video of a possible fix for the Xbox One. It's basically the guy flipped it and started pounding on the bottom of it hard.
Is that the disk drive problem?
Yeah, the disk drive problem, and it fixed it. And I wouldn't recommend doing that, but it's just hilarious how there's a YouTube video of that actually working.
Or use the towel trick.
The towel trick.
Yeah, just wrap it around in a towel, and it'll work.
What? Okay,
That
Brandon.
was the old
That was
Yeah, the
the
Xbox 360, yeah. That
You
worked.
could do that?
Yeah.
It works for the PS3 also.
That's so weird. Why would a fucking towel do that?
Because it's probably the fact is it's the thermal paste.
Yeah.
That's not the adhesive is not just there. So by increasing the temperature, you're remelting.
Okay, you're
or
resoldering
say
it yourself.
Yeah, kind
Okay.
of, I guess.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I had to open mine up
I
and
did
use
that
a
for my
fucking
computer
heat gun. Yeah. Anyways, to continue on, install times may vary on, both. It was just what I written down. It was funny.
What are you, William Shatner?
Yeah, install
On,
times will vary.
Both.
Anyways, so what happened was they hooked up a PS4 into an Xbox One and then started the exact same game. They started the exact same game at the same time to see which one installed faster. And the PS4 destroys the Xbox One for I don't know what reason. Basically, right now, if there's an update for a game, the PS4 will update it in the background, and if you want to continue playing single player, it'll ignore it, right? But the Xbox One, for some reason, forces it to install the update before it even starts installing the game. Okay, so including install times, they put a Need for Speed, and the game was already running on the PS4, and they were racing. and the Xbox wasn't even past 10% of the install.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently it took like 9 minutes in total for the install to happen, including the download, and the PS4 took 42 seconds. So that's a horrible
2
comparison.
seconds.
Yeah,
I would rather take no time.
no time. But yeah,
Just happened.
but the problem is
42 seconds, man. I could have created something. God.
now
Fuck.
every single game needs to be installed on Xbox One, on PS4, on PC. Every game is installed.
Why can't they just go back to cartridges?
Yeah.
Cartridges.
No,
I wonder
man,
how much
seriously.
data you can fit into a cartridge.
Megabytes?
Many of the gigabytes.
Should we go back to floppy disks?
No, just
No.
have
No,
USBs.
every game is just a hard drive,
A solid
Yeah.
state
a
hard drive.
solid state hard drive that you just plug in.
Yeah, so every game will cost you about several $1,000.
But it would be instantaneous when you play it.
This
And it
game was
holds
so
a ton of
worth
data.
the $2,000 that I spent.
2,000? No,
It'd
man.
be worth like maybe 100 something.
Not even if you get like if it's a small SSD, you don't have to get like a 200 gigabyte SSD for a game.
Like a 50 gig at most.
Yeah, exactly. It's like maybe $100, less than that.
Well, SSDs cost around $1 per gig.
Okay, so 50
so
bucks.
$50.
Huh.
So the cost of a game.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, you can get a 60 gig one.
Plus
60 bucks.
manufacturing of it, and
Goodness.
We got
I'm sure the
cabinets.
programming of it onto the.
Yeah.
You can't just put it on and say, "Oh, plug it in, it works."
So maybe $100 if you're just going to count out the loss of that. That or they make very effective SSDs specifically for game cartridges.
Or we just burn games onto like 50 CDs.
Exactly.
All right. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Let's continue. Media functionality. Xbox has, PS4 does not. That's pretty much as far as we're going to get into that. And that's the comparison I have, pretty much.
That was
Like key
10
points.
minutes.
Key points. Key points. Nothing drastic. I
Xbox
said a
One
light
is
comparison.
gigantic.
Sorry.
I'm still surprised that you're saying that they sold equal amounts.
Yeah.
In 24 hours. Like to me, like from a consumer standpoint, like it's $100 more.
Yeah,
It's
but
huge as fuck. I mean, the games are, I guess, are a little better right now than the PS4s.
they actually did a comparison about that too. Basically, the way it comes down to is the Xbox One has a lot of AAA full-fledged like big box games that were released, and the PS4 does not have as many. Whereas the PS4 has a lot more downloadable titles, a lot of indie titles, a lot of smaller indie titles, whereas the Xbox One barely has anything.
Do you have sales numbers in terms of the actual games that are being sold?
No, none. But presumably,
No games are being sold.
No games.
no games.
They're all being.
They're all just
digitally
buying systems. I don't know how many units of any.
Because I'd be
games
curious if
being
the
pushed.
Xbox One is $100 more, but as Adam has mentioned, there's the draw with respects to there being Dead Rising 3 Rise, which I'm personally very excited to be playing.
Really wanna?
No.
Okay.
Being very sarcastic.
Very sarcastic.
That would be interesting to compare because the sales numbers on the actual software that's coming out with it is probably much higher than it is for the PS4.
So I actually had a question. Of the free games they're giving out, which one would you take?
Definitely the zoo.
Rise.
Rise, yeah.
Because I wouldn't buy it normally, but I would play it.
That's exactly what I said. I would probably get Dead Rising, but I would
What?
if it was free. Out of those 4 games, I wouldn't get Forza, and I wouldn't buy Rise. I'm not gonna get Zoo Tycoon, so I would have bought Dead Rising.
Ugh, you would
Exactly.
play Dead Rising 3?
Yeah, why not?
But the thing is, if you had bought the console, you would have probably bought Dead Rising anyway.
Exactly, that's the thing. I would have bought Dead Rising anyways, and I would have got Rise for free if my system broke because I wouldn't have paid for it. What about you, Brandon? What would you take?
Well, I'd probably by default take Dead Rising,
So you would
but I would take Forza.
Forza for free? Yeah, okay. You guys?
I'd probably take Rise because I would buy Dead Rising also, and I'd buy Forza either way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Forza is an awesome series.
Erickson,
Well, you know I was joking about.
Zoo Tycoon. Yeah.
No, you can't be joking. Yeah.
I definitely get that Rising because, I like zombie games.
Cool.
Look, I've got Viva Pinata on the PC and on the handheld. I have the Roller Coaster Tycoon, so I gotta get the Zoo Tycoon.
Okay.
Just to
Complete the
finish.
trilogy.
Just
to
to
finish
finish it.
everything.
Finish the fight.
No, a quick question though. How much did your camera cost?
It was $60.
So $60 plus the PlayStation came out to
Slightly less than
exactly,
$40
which
Xbox One
comes
handhelds.
with the Kinect.
Yeah.
So it's $40.
But the Kinect is more. There's more functionality
Yeah.
in the Kinect than the PS4 camera.
Exactly. That's where the extra money is.
Anyways, continue. Twitch on PS4 right now. I've been streaming a lot. It's a lot of fun. But there was some interesting stuff going on with the Playroom. Remember we played Playroom for a little bit? I posted a video on Facebook. Basically, people were using Playroom. They were streaming it and having
Naked.
impromptu. Yeah, let me get into that. Impromptu stuff. It's like anything goes almost, right? So some guy, they had this live talk show where people called in and did all kinds of shit. It actually got wind of like the Sony boss, like Yoshida or whatever his name is, he actually came in the stream and started talking to them and shit.
What?
Yeah. And then 2 people got into a drunken stupor, like this couple were like drinking themselves silly, and then this guy like flashed everyone her tit for like 15 minutes. Apparently she didn't realize. And then the camera cut off, and then it came back on like 10, 15 minutes later, and she was completely naked to everyone.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that earlier. And
Why
you said
were we
people
watching
got
this, by the
banned.
way?
Yeah, people got the bad hammer all over them. The last one was some guy with a horse head, like one of those horse head masks,
I don't know why this is so
motorboating some chick.
That's funny. That is funny.
Oh.
Anyways, so Playroom doesn't show up in the Twitch like choose a game thing
It's
anymore.
not a game because it's not a game.
No, but I mean like
no, but they classified it as not being a game.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to put it.
But see, the thing is, Twitch talked about their terms of service agreement and stuff like that, and they were saying you can do Playroom and stuff like that, and you can have stuff like we could actually stream our podcast because we're talking about video games. As long as it is video game content, then it is perfectly fine. As long if we're talking
don't
about
we
it,
do
if we're
that?
playing it,
Maybe next time. Don't motorboat anybody.
Don't motorboat.
With a mask.
Oh, we can call it
No more
video.
masks.
We can call it video game contact, and we would be having sex while.
With video games, there is a hole in the CD that you could put
Yeah.
things in.
Continuing on, there is a rumored hardware bundle for the PS4. PS4 plus the Vita.
Actually, that's existing in the States. Not the States, Europe.
Oh yeah, in Europe.
Yeah.
There
The
was
other United States.
The other United States.
basically what it was. What that I saw was the reason why it was a rumor was because it was a sales ad that someone saw. So there was no actual comment from Sony about it, and there was no price. So you're saying it's in Europe though?
Yeah.
Where did you hear about that?
A lot of the Europe forums have it already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
My
Sorry,
friends
what is
European,
this? It's
so-
a hardware update?
It's a
Software?
hardware bundle.
Okay.
You can buy the PS4 and the Vita at the exact same time.
Yeesh. I don't know how that would sell.
I don't even know how much it would cost.
I would probably buy it.
Just
Yeah?
If I don't buy Vita before, I'd probably buy it.
You don't have a Vita yet?
No.
He
Get
wanted
out
to
of this room!
he wanted to get one after he got the PS4. But I mean, like, if it comes bundled, you'd actually do that?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's good. Good. But I mean, you're a very small minority, I would think. Maybe
Not
I'm
necessarily.
overstepping my.
You already
Talk
have a
about
Vita
he's
though.
one of
You
the
wouldn't do
largest
that.
minorities.
Just gotta go to India.
I thought you were Pakistani.
Indian.
Oh.
God damn it, Sean.
All right, well then.
I thought you were white.
I am white.
All right, next. Valve announced
There you go.
Steam reviews
Oh yeah.
integrated into Steam. Okay. Now I'm not sure if this is going to be really good or really bad because right now, basically, if you buy the game, if you play the game, you could recommend it to your friends, and it shows you how many times this game has been recommended and if any of your friends have recommended it. Okay. And you can also see the Metacritic, which is equally not necessarily the best thing ever because Metacritic can make or break games. Now, these reviews is the one thing that could be good about this is that you're only allowed reviewing games you've played, and next to the review that you give, it also displays how long you've played the game. So if you played the game for half an hour and give it like a 1 on 10, everyone's gonna tell you to fuck off, and you can rate it like really poorly.
I'm gonna write Sangfroid.
No, what they should do is have some kind of equation in where it'll say you played it for 30 minutes and you gave it a 1 on 10, it would like
Bump you
Yeah.
down. Bump you down.
Minimize
to
how
lowest.
much it
your-
overall.
the weight of
Yeah,
that,
the weight. Yeah.
that's, you know,
That's what Metacritic does do, though, actually, because some publications, like some not user reviews, but actual publications that they take for review, some have more weight catered to than others. Like more popular websites will have more weight to them, and as far as the overall review goes, so that could be a good thing.
But correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't play that much Steam, so I don't know the specifics of it. But I would imagine that a lot of people have a game running, but they're not necessarily playing it. And so you could have a game that you've played several thousand hours of.
Yeah, like I have League of Legends. Like in XFAR, it counts how much time we play the game. Erickson probably has a bit more than me, but I've just almost like 20 hours less than me. Is about 3,000 something or 4,000 something in the past
But he
2
probably
years.
plays more than you just leave it idle.
Yeah, I just keep it idle.
You
Like,
leave your computer idle, but anyway, go on.
yeah, so I have probably a lot of idle time. Like it
Bro,
calculates that.
It's quite possible, yes.
Oh, it does calculate that.
Yeah, no, of course. As long as you're in the main menu, it'll count on Steam.
Also, half the games on Steam, or more than half that actually have achievements, half the achievements are story-based.
Yeah.
So you can't just sit there and do nothing and not progress in the story.
But they wouldn't measure your review theoretically based on the actual trophies you get. It's
no,
based on
but
the
I'm
time of
sure it would also You can make a calculation involving.
It's quite possible too. They can do a bunch of stuff. It could be really good. It could be really bad. It really depends how everyone reviews it. Because now this is not. It completely takes out any sort of actual accredited review. It's literally just user reviews, and that's it.
So we're
I don't like
reviewing
that
on the review.
Sorry, you are allowed actually reviewing people's reviews, which I think is what I read, but it just doesn't seem.
Wait, you review other people's reviews?
You can well, I think it's to the point of if you found this helpful or not, but you might be able to write a comment or not.
And they should adjust or assign a weight depending on how long you read that review.
But I was just going to say that it's strange because personally now, looking at it, I downloaded this morning because it was free to play, Soul Sacrifice, and that is averaging on the PSN I think like a 90 or 95%.
Oh, yeah.
You know why it's averaging that? Because the only people who do reviews are the people who really like it, or no, I think 3,000 people have rated it.
Wow.
The people who really like it are the people who really dislike it, and so it's not going to change anything. Every single game out there is still going to average between 80 and 95% because the majority of people who are going to review it are
Like
people
the
who feel
game.
very strongly for it, that they want to support that.
Quite true. It's a good point.
Then the other problem is that most people aren't writers, and most people are actually very terrible at collecting their thoughts. You know what? I give this a 1 on 10 because the protagonist was black. Okay, well that's borderline incredibly insulting to the developers who put a lot of time into actually making a video game, which is an achievement. If you're paying someone to do a job, they're probably going to do a better job than the majority of people who aren't paid, who are just pretty terrible writers. You know what I'm saying?
It's true. Next up, EA Canada, which is in Vancouver, I'm pretty sure, had a job posting for a Star Wars title, and so it's just a new Star Wars game that EA is making that is outside of, DICE making Battlefront. So it said it's a major new next-gen open-world action game. Very big mouthful, yes.
The Assassin's Creed
Yeah, the Assassin's Creed of Star Wars. So it might be almost like a shout-out to like Star Wars 1313 since that got canned, but we'll see what it turns into. Who knows? They didn't actually give out any information about it other than the fact that it's pretty much existent.
Might I add that I do not care. I wish that the Star Wars franchise would cease to exist.
It could be a good game. If it's good, would you play it? You played
Probably.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
I have not.
I thought you did. Didn't you borrow someone's Xbox to play it?
Compo's Xbox and
Never returned.
someone else's game. Or Compo's Xbox and game, and I just never played it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Moving on. If you don't have a next-gen system yet, there's still stuff to look out for, too. Persona 5 was announced for PS3 by Atlas, and it's going to be out in winter next year in Japan.
Yeah.
So who knows when it's going to come to the West.
It might be a simultaneous release.
And there's another one, for the DS.
3DS.
Yeah, it's a chibi version.
Oh god.
Chibi?
I'm either gonna learn Japanese or
Which I highly doubt.
wait. So I'm not
Or
gonna
wait.
wait.
We have an entire year
That's
to learn
everyone. You're
Japanese.
describing everyone.
I will
right
learn
now.
how to read Japanese now.
And listen, because most likely there's no subtitles during cutscenes.
Well, you have an entire year, so you might be able to learn Japanese in a year, or at least functional enough to play a game. So, Walking Dead Season 2 is coming out later this year. The third Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns is coming out in February. South Park, whenever the hell that fucking finally comes out. And Dark Souls 2. Now, there's a few games that are also coming out on next-gen systems and coming out on the old ones, like Titanfall for 360, Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero is also coming out, Watch Dogs, Dragon Age Inquisition, and Destiny. So there's still stuff to look out for. I'm pretty sure a lot of games that are coming out like later on, like within a year or two, any game coming out for PS3 will I'm pretty sure will come out on PS4 and Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they're just going to open it up to that.
For an extra $10.
For an extra $10.
It's that ugly cycle where I remember when I still had a PS2 and everyone was getting the PS3, and the games were so noticeably uglier on the PS2, and there was much less effort put into the PS2 versions.
What game did they still release on the PS2 recently? Was it a sports game?
Recently?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a sports
It
game or
was like
something.
FIFA 14.
Yeah, something like that.
What? They released that on PS2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they
It's
wanted
basically
to.
the same old engine that they have in FIFA, God knows what number.
That
And
is
they
so
just like
random.
changed the roster.
Wow.
Basically DLC, like updating the roster.
That's so dumb. Last up, Ubisoft is releasing an iOS/Android game for Assassin's Creed that is just naval combat. It's called Assassin's Creed Pirates, and it's coming out on December 5th. And they showed a little trailer, which I will post in the description, and it's basically just exploring. It's almost like Sid Meier's Pirates. You just explore, find treasure, do some missions, and destroy stuff with your ship.
So it is just Sid Meier's Pirates.
Yeah, but
With
with
Assassin's
Assassin's Creed. The graphics were really nice, though. Like, for like a handheld, like tablet or phone game, it looked really nice.
How much is it retailing for?
$5-10. I don't know.
Too much money.
How
Too
much?
much.
If it's not free, forget it.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Well,
But
it's on
anyways,
Android and it'll be free.
it was interesting to say the least. Anyways, that is the news for this week. Like, comment, subscribe, check out our jargon, which is up next, and catch you guys next week.